let's start this meeting then. Planning construction meeting Tuesday, September 8th. First item, roll call.
I'm not sure who the clerk is, but I'll serve as clerk and call the
That's
roll.
wonderful. Thank you.
Trustee Sperber,
Here.
Trustee Carey. Trustee Carey, you're muted. Trustee Rose.
Present.
Trustee Gianoli.
Here.
Trustee Chaplin.
Here. There we go.
We have a quorum.
Okay, hopefully Sean, I see Sean was muted. So Sean, are you on now? Oh, you are. Sean, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First item is public comments. Do we have any?
Not at this time.
Very good. Okay. Next item, we're going to item number 3, approval of minutes of the August 11th, 2020 committee meeting. Any changes, comments? How about a motion, someone?
So Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
First, second, any comments? None. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item is approved. Next item, let's go to item number 4, items for review and recommendations to board. First and only item that we have to approve today is item 4.1. Again, this is the Sky Bridge escalator modernization project. Again, who is going to speak on this? Is Amanda?
Mr. Sperber, this is Ted Ohm. I'll be speaking on this one today.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Ted.
That's okay.
Go right ahead, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. Trustees, committee members, good morning. This is Ted Ohm. I'm the Senior Facilities Project Manager for the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority.
Ted, do you want me to host the presentation?
Should be up now.
It's there.
Okay, so this is going to be a short presentation on the Skybridge Escalator Modernization Project. The purpose of this action is to request for the President, CEO to execute a professional service agreement for design services for the Skybridge Escalator Modernization Project at the Reno Tahoe International Airport with H&K Architects. This is in support of the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority's strategic priorities as identified in the 2019-2023 strategic plan. And these are the facilities of the future, safety and security, customer experience. These current escalators were installed as part of the parking garage construction project that was completed in 1990. They're now 23 years old. These units have over 200,000 hours of runtime versus a useful life of 87,600. And that useful life, 86,000 or 87,000, comes from the AIP handbook by the FAA. The object of this project is the preservation of infrastructure by modernizing and refurbishing these 2 public use escalators. The request for qualifications for design services, excuse me. The request for qualifications for design services was publicly advertised on July 16th. 3 companies submitted their RFQs that was H&K Architects, VDA, VTX. An evaluation committee comprised the RTA staff reviewed these submittals and determined that H&K Architects was the most qualified based upon the following: experience and qualifications in providing similar services, understanding of those services, the capacity and ability to provide those services, understanding the environment here in the at the airport and within the Reno Sparks area, a proven track record of success for projects similar to this, and a proven success as working with the team. And they, H&K Architects, they've been around since 1994. They have several large projects involved in the academic, institutional, and commercial arenas. Notable RTAA projects were the snow removal equipment building, the STED terminal, and EOC, and they're currently helping with the ticketing hall study. H&K Architects has partnered with Elevator Consulting, Elevator Consulting. H&K Elevator Consulting was established in 1973 and has several West Coast offices, including one in Las Vegas. HKA has completed several escalator modernization projects at other airports, some of them being San Jose, Juneau, Fairbanks, and Anchorage, Alaska. Funding from this project came from PFC 14 as approved by the FAA. The total PFC funding for this project is $1,361,300, of which $58,000 has been will be used for design and bid preparation. The remaining $1,303,300 will be used for actual construction and other other services, other admin services. I'm presenting this project to you today, and it is hereby recommended that the board adopt the following motion. It is hereby moved that the board authorize the president CEO to execute a professional service agreement for design services for the Sky Bridge escalator modernization project at the Reno Tahoe International Airport with H&K Architects in the amount of $58,000, and authorize the president, CEO, or his designee to sign. Is there any questions at this time?
It sounds like you guys got more than your use out of those.
These, if I may, these escalators run 24/7 because of how we operate here. And typically escalators usually run for a 12-hour period a day. So
Wow.
it kind of adds a lot of hours to them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I support your effort.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, this is going easy. All right, well, somebody want to make a motion here?
I'll move to approve as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
You have a first and second. Any more comments? No more comments. Let's go for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Item approved. Thank you very much.
If there's any opposition,
Any opposition? I thought I heard all four.
thank
No
you.
opposition, all in favor. Well, okay, we've done
Very
it.
good.
Thank you. Very hard. All right, thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Next item, item number 5. First item is 5.1, the North Valley's flood in the utilities. Again, I guess, Lissa, are you doing this one?
I am indeed.
Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Chair Sperber, trustees, staff. This will be a pretty quick update on the North Valley's flood mitigation and utility corridor. This is Lissa Butterfield, Manager of Planning and Environmental Services. As with last month, there are no updates on the North Valley's flood mitigation project, also known as the Swan Lake Dewatering Project, because the project is complete and fully operational, and staff would support this half of the item coming off of future agendas, since at this point it's a completed City of Reno project. And then the second half of the item is the utility corridor plan. Regarding those corridor plans, since our last Planning and Construction Committee meeting on August 11th, Staff has continued to coordinate and has had several meetings, primarily with the City of Reno and the Dermody team. The reason these have been targeted meetings is due to the fact that the City of Reno does have a pressing and immediate need to start designing and constructing an effluent pipeline. And so we do want to make sure that we're focusing our attention on the most pressing of the utility needs right now. Dermody has been involved in those conversations as well, because anything we do associated with the utility corridor, we want to make sure that it doesn't negatively or detrimentally impact Dermody's FAA process associated with their two buildings or their larger development plans as a whole. So we have been continuing to collaborate on that. The city is looking at putting their effluent pipeline along our east-west alignment. Their current proposed alignment will begin south of the Reno-Stead property line. They're going to connect up with Bravo Avenue south of the airport, and then that pipeline would continue north and eventually connect up with Lemon, either at Ramsey, which is in the middle of the east, yes, sorry, the east residential development, and it will move west through the airport property and either connect to Red Rock or American Flats. That concludes my update, and I am available for questions.
Thank you. Any comments, any questions? Okay, that sounds good. Again, we're taking that up on item number 7 of kind of pulling you out of there on that first portion of it. Maybe change this for the standing item next meeting. All right, let's go to item 5.2. Looks like we've got Tony for a little runway update here.
Yes, good morning, Chair. Yes, good morning. You hear me okay?
Yep.
Very good. Good morning, Chair, trustees, committee, and staff, any guests that might be present. Just here to Tony Curatolo, Senior Project Manager, to give an update on the runway project. I'm happy to report that all systems go on the work for this year. We're currently wrapping up the Mauser work. That's the navigational aids for the FAA. The blast pads, the asphalt blast pads at the ends of the runway of 16 right, 3-4 left have been completed. The wildlife mitigation is near completion, aside from the part of the work we'll be doing next year. And then the runway incursion mitigation at Taxiway Alpha has also been completed. They are ongoing work currently with some striping. They're restriping all the runways and adjusting the layout of the striping according to the FAA advisory circulars. And in terms of the current schedule of work, 16 right, 3-4 left, our main runway will reopen this Friday on September 11th after a flight check on Thursday the 10th. 725 will remain closed because we need to do work when we flip over to the left closure. That'll reopen next Friday on September 18th. And then again, once we reopen 16 right, we will close 16 left for about a month, September 11th to October 10th. At that point, we'll be doing the vault tie-in that we held over due to the closure. We're waiting for the left to be closed to do that new east lighting vault tie-in. So we'll be doing that as part of the work. Once we reopen 16 left on October 10th, all the runways will be open through the winter. ILS will reopen this Friday, so we'll be all set for winter traffic to pick up and be all systems go for winter operations until we come back next year in 21. That's the main portion of the work. That'll be about March through October of the full keel, that concrete keel section with the centerline lights, and then the shoulders, the asphalt shoulders with the runway edge lights. That'll be all happening next year in 21. And then we were not unimpacted, I'll say, by the COVID situation. The magnetic variation due to some FAA internal challenges that actually fell a little later in the schedule, and we actually pushed that in conjunction with talking with our new CEO and the FAA and our air service group to November of 22. So we'll come back and do that as a standalone several week project, but should be a little impact to our lowest range of air service needs during that time. So we kind of coordinated that with airlines as well, as far as what the impacts are and when we could do that to minimize the impacts and any costs that would be seen. So that's where we stand currently, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tony. Questions, comments, anyone? Looks like it's going well, so thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to our next item. Next item is the capital improvement schedule. I think, Chris, you're going to speak on this, right, my friend?
Yes, sir, Chairman Sperber. Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Chris Cobb, your engineering manager of construction. I'd like to share my screen if I can do that, Marty.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Just wanted to update you guys on the schedule and point out a few things here. The first one with the Stead Taxiway and Apron project. The start got moved a little bit into September, just based on when we received the grant from the FAA, but I'm really happy to say that they're moving in today, and that's Road and Highway Builders, just as everybody's memory. And that's getting going this week. The next two items, the TSA operations and the terminal elevator modernization, we've had a few little things we're still finishing out, so that project closeout was extended from what was originally shown. Same with the planning group working through the ticketing hall. We've just extended that out a little as they're working on finalizing that report. It's expected to be completed out in September, but it could potentially carry into October. So we just wanted to highlight those. Additionally, it's not highlighted on here, but I'd like to remind everybody the Slurry Still project is still ongoing. It's on schedule, and tenant bulletins were sent out. We're doing patching this week in the parking plaza, as well as next week they'll start slurring the remainder of the surface lot and the yellow lot. Then they'll finish up with a green lot after that is done. So those projects, that one's on schedule, but just as a reminder, if you're coming to the airport, pay attention for that and traffic as you come through, and it'll be a very successful project for us when it's completed. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes. First thing, the terminal building. So it looks like on there. So you need another month to finish up that report, right? The consultant's working on that report. Is that what's happening?
That's, and Melissa can speak more delicately or intricately to it, but it's, I know they're expected in September, but just in case that carried over in October, that's what we were showing.
Okay. Okay. So that was the thing. Nothing major.
No, sir.
Okay. And then pretty much then we're going look at that of where we are on that project, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right. Any other items on that thing, guys? All right. Looks like we're moving right along. Since I'm actually feeding right into the terminal hall, I guess, Lisa, are you going to give us a little talk on there? I should have waited on that question.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm hoping, I just started sharing my screen. I'm hoping someone can confirm that I can see a
It's
presentation.
there.
Wonderful.
Yes, I can see.
Thank you. Good morning. Once again, this is Lisa Butterfield, Manager of Planning and Environmental Services. And to address your question, yes, the ticketing hall improvements detailed planning study is nearly complete. We were very pleasantly pleased and surprised by the number of detailed comments we received from staff on our draft report, and that's what's required us to lengthen out the finalization of the report a little bit. But I will go into a little bit more detail. So let's see. As a reminder, the study explored options to improve the ticketing hall, primarily between two existing constraints, and those would be the constraints of the airline counters and the baggage handling system, as well as the curbside canopy that provides shade to people on the curb. The options considered included a number of solutions to address existing issues within the ticketing hall, which were expected to be exacerbated by the forecasted growth in the master plan. Those issues included the narrow north-south circulation hallway, limited space available for the airline passenger queues as well as their kiosks, the lack of public restrooms on that path from the ticketing hall to the security checkpoint, as well as wayfinding issues due to the existing signs and limited line of sight through the structure, lack of available airline counter space or front of the house tenant space, and also the remaining useful life of a number of those building systems. In addition, as you'll remember, the original study was going to look at the vulnerability of the curbside frontage and whether or not installation of bollards or other security enhancements would help prevent potentially a car being used as a terroristic weapon. We decided to remove that aspect from this planning study primarily due to the timeline of it. If it stayed as part of this study, work for those security enhancements wouldn't occur until the 23-24 timeframe. We did decide, and we're pleased that trustees supported us in this, to expedite the security discussion. So curbside frontage security enhancements are being included as part of the PFC-funded roadway project, with construction anticipated more for the 21-22 timeframe. As a reminder, this study was PFC funded, and if we choose to move this project into design, the board did direct staff to use a CMAR, construction manager at risk, project delivery method, and funding would be through O&M funding. This slide just shows you a quick snapshot of the project team. Consultants are on the left of the screen. And then the stakeholder group, there's a very robust stakeholder team that participated through every stage of the study. They're identified on the right. Nearly every department in the organization was involved. In addition, our airlines, both our local station managers as well as our corporate airline contacts and the wheelchair service providers provided input into the study. Since our August planning and construction meeting, the consultant team has provided a final workshop that occurred on August 12th, right between planning and construction and the board meeting, with the full internal stakeholder group. The focus of that workshop in August was to unveil the full draft basis of design report, to answer questions and solicit input and feedback. The basis of design report included plans, renderings, building system descriptions, wayfinding and signage recommendations. It summarized the airline input and provided detailed cost estimates. The next few slides just demonstrate a snapshot of some of the basis of design report content that was provided. Let's see. So as part of the content, there was a number of 3D renderings showing before and afters, such as this view from the airline counter view. The left shows you what it looks like now. The right shows what it could look like as part of this study recommendations. The basis of design report also contains detailed floor plans and building system details, which will make design for these improvements in the future easier and more efficient for our design team. Mechanical plan improvements and new wayfinding and signage recommendations were also included. All of the preliminary plans in the basis of design report are supported not just with graphics, but also narrative descriptions and associated cost estimates. The current cost estimates for the preferred solution include $12.5 million in construction costs. That is still being refined in the final report, so that number may go up or down depending on the additional input from staff. Staff requested an estimate for an optional design upcharge as part of this study, and that would allow future design to include more expensive finishes than what's in the necessary cost estimates. That would include something like terrazzo flooring or changes to lighting, and as well as signage upgrades. The amount for that upcharge is an additional $1.37 million. And once again, that would be something if we chose to design a much more expensive product. Finally, we also requested, knowing that COVID had impacted us financially, and knowing that the expectations of the project had to be carefully considered, in terms of are the improvements worth the cost, recognizing that we are in an economic downturn. We did ask the consultant to cost estimate necessary building system upgrades, which would be needed in the near term, regardless of whether the full project went ahead. And right now, the cost for that is about $406,000. Once again, that is still being refined in the final report, but we do expect that that amount might go up a little bit. Those improvements are focused primarily on HVAC and electrical. And so regardless of whether the full project moves to design, that $400,000 worth of improvements is really necessary to keep that portion of the building going for the long term. And those improvements would likely have to happen within the next 3 to 8 years. So next steps for the project are as follows. The project team has compiled all comments received at or after the August 12th Basis of Design workshop, and we've provided them to the consultant. The consultant is reviewing them right now. And some of these comments are significant. For instance, we are looking at what it would cost to potentially replace the roof should we incorporate skylights into the new structure. And we are having a meeting tomorrow to discuss which comments need to be addressed specifically in the final Basis of Design report and which comments can be deferred until design is underway. After those decisions are made, the consultant team will be finalizing the Basis of Design report. They believe they can have that report finished in final format near the end of the month. And so if planning and construction, if the committee is interested, the consultant team is available to present their final report at an upcoming planning and construction meeting. So I would ask the committee to consider if they would like a full rollout of the study in October or November, depending on when it's completed. And then after completion of the study, the airport team and the trustees are really going to need to make some difficult decisions on whether or not we want to proceed to design. As I mentioned, the construction cost estimates just for construction are about $12.5 million for the full recommendations. And those were developed based on presumption that we would go into construction in fiscal year 23-24. A conservative schedule is shown on this slide in terms of when we would want to put the RFQ on the street, when design would occur, as well as construction. That in order to stick to that schedule, we would need to make a decision at the first half of next calendar year as to whether or not we were going to fund this full project. And as I mentioned, if we choose not to fund the full project at this time or in the next year or so, we will need to look at programming in those necessary building system upgrades to keep the building, to extend the useful life of the building and repair and replace those failing systems. So thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the project. I am available for questions, and I would greatly appreciate input as to whether or not the board would like a final presentation from the consultant. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll decide that, I guess, on the next item on the on anything we want to put for the next meetings, whether to do a closeout on the thing, go through the item one more time. Anyway, any other comments, guys, on this one?
Mr. Sperber.
Sure.
Yeah, Alyssa, I'm still uncomfortable with the response on is the width of the walkway adequate? And what I was trying to do was to make sure we were looking out into the future. And the answer I got was that the architect has determined that the walkway is adequate. And I wanted to make sure, was that the full master plan? I know there's great constraints because I've been following the project fairly closely, but I just have a concern that, this kind of expenditure, $12, $13 million doesn't appear to be, changing a lot in terms of the width of the actual walkway, and then what would that walkway be like in the future? Certainly it's adequate today, but into the future. So I'd like that not necessarily to be addressed today, but as the project is discussed further, I just wanted that to be further reviewed.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I would think probably when we have the architect and we have this next next thing, if we decide to put that on the agenda, we should put that as an item for Lisa for discussion on that item, on that portion of it. Also, you know, I like that we're looking at the HVAC. And what was the other item you were saying in that $406,000 you think that we should do in the next couple years?
Right now it's primarily HVAC related and electrical. There's some electrical improvements we can make, but as I mentioned, they are still fully vetting that, primarily based on some feedback from facilities, so that number might go up a tiny bit. But we would have a list of those recommendations as part of the final study.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm glad we're actually looking at things that we need to do in the short term, you know, on some of these items. Probably makes great sense to kind of break those out anyway, to look at them. All right, any more comments on that one? All right, thank you. All right, next item is item number 6, our usual thing on project status reports. We want to see if anybody wants to go into an item more in depth or anything. First thing, I guess, Chris, did you want to bring up any item out of there?
Good. Thank you, Chair Sperber. Basically the two that I highlighted before. Again, I'd like to point out Mr. Juzik is our project manager for both STED and the Slurry. He's doing an excellent job, and looking forward to getting the STED project going. Here again, you know, about a $5 million investment in our infrastructure, local contractors, and the Slurry seal, you know, over a couple $100,000 in getting that done. It, you know, while we don't appreciate what COVID has done to our travel traffic, it has given us this opportunity to get in there and get this done at a good time.
Oh, that's great. And like you're saying with the STED, now we can knock that project out completely with no breaks in the thing, and they're pretty much ready to go, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other items that you guys want to bring up? All right, I agree. All right, let's go on to the next items. Next item is members' comments and requests for future items. We had a couple things that we looked at the future item. Do we want to put back on the ticketing? Would we want to put that next month or the month after to go a full one? Sean, you were talking about in the items on that, looking at that, the walkway outside on that item.
Yeah, I think probably if we could leave it with Alyssa to kind of work with the team there and figure out an appropriate date when those can be looked at. That's fine with me. Doesn't have to be scheduled for next month.
Right, Alyssa, what are we looking at? Do we need another month or two, or you kind of get back with me in the next 3 weeks so we can decide whether to put it on or not? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think we could hit October, but they will be potentially rushing their project. So I'm meeting with the consultant team tomorrow, and then we'll have a better idea on if we can hit October or if November is maybe more appropriate.
Okay, and either one I think is fine for us on the thing. All right, so that would be the first item. Second item, let me see. Okay, so that item. Also, the second item was with you, Lisa, whether to get off of this item 5.1, the first half, which is the North Valley's flood mitigation. Let's see if we can pull that off, but leave on the utility corridor plan. I think we need to be watching that each month on that item. Does that sound good with everybody?
Yes, that does.
All right. Any other, so does anybody have any comments or anything besides doing that?
I just have one comment.
Sure.
You know, we're in a pretty significant financial emergency. Things are kind of a mess in Washington in terms of sending money our way. But I wanted to see if there were possible projects that we could begin to discuss that might be used for some type of federal investment if they were trying to spur the local economy or the national economy in this case. Just to maybe have the staff look at that. I don't necessarily want an agenda item, but just some discussion to explore the potential for us to have the feds maybe through some process pick up some of the improvements that we're trying to make in our master plan.
All right. Darren, I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday, having possibly shovel ready, which staff has continued to do a great job. A lot of that stead, if you saw it, they were quite ahead on there. And I don't know if we ought to be thinking about that. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Chair. I agree. I haven't had a chance yet since we spoke on Friday about that to talk to the team about it. I know that's something that this organization has done well in the past. I think going through what's on our 5-year CIP, which the team is going to be walking me through here soon, looking at what do we have that's close to shovel ready that could take advantage of any form of stimulus funds or grants or anything like that that might come our way is certainly something that's in our best interest, and we want to be able to do that at either airport. So I think that's a good future discussion item. Thinking, I mean, it could be October, maybe November, you know, and then we'll just kind of walk through that with the committee members and see what the options might be and a little bit of brainstorming.
No, that sounds great. No, very good. So we're do that. All right. Any other comments, guys?
Just one, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry to be a pest today.
Oh, go right ahead.
The Spaghetti Bowl project is underway, and I'm still receiving from NDOT their Spaghetti Bowl Express updates. And as we all know, they're starting to work pretty aggressively on that project. I just wanted to make sure our engineering and planning teams were still receiving the NDOT project updates so that they could monitor it for impacts to our operations.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Chris, so you're getting that directly from NDOT on the thing?
Yes, sir. I get those updates.
Okay, let me know if you're not, since I'm involved with that project for NDOT.
Trustee Sperber?
Yes,
this is
go
Linda.
ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So we are still getting updates. In addition, I am the contact for the NDOT PIO. So they're sending me information that is targeted at the airport. We did send out all employee, all tenant bulletins before the project started, identifying them, you know, and kind of talking about the impacts. We also had our economic development team and our ground transportation team followed up with those tenants and service providers at the airport who would probably be most likely impacted by the work. We've sent out, I think, about 2 or 3 tenant bulletins since the project started, and we will continue anytime we're advised of a significant airport impact to update everyone on our distribution.
I think you said that. Thank you, didn't you, Sean? You were muted.
Yeah, Alyssa, I'm glad you're there watching it closely. I know there's going to be some major wrecks out there, and just being in the loop on that stuff will keep our entry and exit to the airport running as smooth as it possibly can. But thanks, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go on to the next item. Any public comments?
None at this time.
Perfect. All right, let's move to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.